Alrighty, guys, and welcome back to the Basketball Fix podcast. I am your host, Josh Higgins, and alongside me is my co-host and one of the main men at the Basketball Fix, Mr. Jeremy Dark. Jez, mate, how are you? And welcome back to another Game Day Squad episode.
I'm very well, mate. It's been an exciting weekend for Australian basketball. What a spectacle it was on the weekend. Absolutely positive, only positive news it felt like come out of the NBA cross NBL adventure, I guess you could say. Already calls for regular season games to be played in Australia and comparing against the NHL and the NFL that are coming soon. And so it's good. It's good for the sport. It's been a whole lot of basketball. The AFL and NRL are over. Focus is going on to cricket and NBL. It's only making the weekends even better, mate.
No, definitely, mate. And obviously making, I guess, the week even better is round number 3. Number 4, I should say, of the NBL season. We've got 8 games on the schedule this weekend. So that is going to be absolutely crazy. So if you guys are watching the live stream live, make sure you send us in a comment and we will get back to as many of them as possible. So, Mr. Jeremy Dark, let's jump into today's episode. Massive shout out to Ryan, who I can already see who's in the chat to start the episode off. But
He's supposed to be at the gym, so tell him to get his ass to the gym and get off YouTube.
Got to love it for sure, mate. But let's jump in. I've got a bit of a frog in the back of the throat right now, which is starting to appear. But let's jump into
better than something else, mate.
But let's jump into sort of what is an incredible round number 3 last week. There was only 4 games on the schedule, with obviously the NBA games in there as well. Obviously with Melbourne United and Southeast Melbourne Phoenix taking on the New Orleans Pelicans, which was a bit of a spectacle. And again, that is a story for another day. But in terms of Game Day Squad, I think what we might do here, Jez, is we'll jump over to the other screen and we're going to go through some of the statistics in these particular games. So Game Day Squad statistics. Now, I guess the first game, Cairns Taipans taking on the Adelaide 36ers. What jumps to the mind straight away is Mr. Bryce Cotton. 85 fantasy points. Game Day Squad points, right? So when we're looking at it, it's a combined 28 points scored, 4 3-pointers made, 3 defensive rebounds, 7 assists, 5 bloody steals, and the 2 turnovers as well in that particular game. Next best, Flynn Cameron. Next best, Isaac Humphries. Nick Rakasevich was incredible in that particular game as well, with the 43, with his 8 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 1 block. So, Jez, mate, what did you make of the first game? What's sort of catching your eye the most here? I know it has to be Bryce Cotton, but a few of these role players stepping up with Flynn Cameron and Zylan Cheatham for the Adelaide 36ers in particular.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we expected Cheatham to step up, and he has. He's one of the top picks as a small forward. I think if you have him, you put him in your team, especially if the 36ers have a good matchup. I think also what we pulled from here was a very quiet game for Jack McVeigh, who started extremely well the first couple of weeks. He wasn't even he was not even top 5 Cairns scorer in Game Day Squad points. Kept very, very quiet. And I think that's something we all need to take into consideration, really, because of the lack of star power there, that McVeigh in some games, good defensive teams are going to be able to shut him down and frustrate him a little bit. So I think you're going to get some of these low scores with McVeigh because he's going to be able to get shut down until some of these other guys like Andrew Andrews obviously stepped up a little bit, till someone else steps up and takes a little bit of the pressure off McVeigh. I think you got to be a little bit careful with him there. But yeah, like the Bryce Cotton was big and it was a quiet night, you could say, compared to the first one in scoring. But it's these 7 assists and 5 steals that we talked about earlier when we were discussing the tactics when you're looking at Game Day Squad of what you want from your players, because they're the big point categories right there. And that's what you want to see, and you want to be jumping on assists and steals.
Yeah, I think that's the big key point out of it as well. And he is playing that point guard role for the Adelaide 36ers this season, which is very different to how he's always played his basketball, in particular in the NBL as well. One name that sort of jumps off the page a little bit for me, though, Marcus Lee, 35 fantasy or game day fantasy points, 18 points in that particular game, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, had the 4 turnovers and the 3 personal fouls, which are obviously your negatives, and also finished the game with 2 blocks. So you take away some of those personal fouls and some of those turnovers, that's a respectable score in the 40s there as well. Obviously, you mentioned Jack McVeigh, quite disappointing. Also, Admiral Schofield, only the 19 fantasy points. He had 19 points, 3 3-pointers made. He had 3 assists. the 2 personal fouls and the 3 turnovers in this particular game as well. So he was quite disappointing, and no one else really of note in that particular game. Now, the second game of the round was between the Perth Wildcats and the Illawarra Hawks, and this was incredible game. This was game of the round for me personally. I don't think, when you look at sort of the runs and the momentum swings and sort of the high class, it was, it had to be. Obviously the Tassie Brisbane Bullets game was relatively good, but it was marred at the end by some poor refereeing. That's what I kind of look at. I think
great refereeing. Depends which team you.
Exactly. Depends which way you look at it, mate. But obviously, the story of this game was JaVale McGee. Once again, 81 fantasy or game day fantasy points. I need to get that nailed by the end of the video. But 26 points, 14 rebounds, which is just incredible. 2 assists, 4 steals, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls, 1 block. He was the storyline. And for me, the second best storyline was seeing Tyler Harvey bounce back. A bit of a poor round 1 performance in that game against the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. They just absolutely clamped him up and made him the primary scorer and tried to make everyone else beat them, which they couldn't do. But he finished the game with 19 points, 3 3-pointers, 3 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, 1 turnover, 3 personal fouls in that game. Jez, what were some of your thoughts on looking at it from a game day perspective?
The consistency now, or say 2-game consistency of Dylan Windler, I think was important for me. I think Windler showed that he's going to step up for Perth and he's going to be there. He had I think it was the first game he played, he was real quiet, but then bounced back straight away and then put in another really decent performance. And then Joe Lualachul, you put him up against anybody that's not called JaVale McGee, and you're going to get a massive score there as well. So I think we can expect some pretty big scores from him as well, because he's just showing consistency. The one sort of thing that not concerns me, but say Christian Doolittle's playing a very different role, I feel, for Perth. So I think you're going to just get a consistent score, but it's hard to see him. I don't feel that he's getting involved or in the same way that he was. He's not going to be putting up the points, the actual scoring points that he was sometimes last year. Just feels like his role has been adjusted a little bit with Joe Lualachul being there. But I don't know, he's still been consistently. What's his average? Do you know off the top of your head?
It was in the 35 rough area. Obviously, we're looking at it from. I'll just get it up here now. We're looking at it more from a perspective of, I do have his bronze card. There it is. We're looking at it from a bronze. So average of 31 points per game to start the season. So again, you bang on in terms of obviously, when we're looking at the consistency and everything as well in that. But personally though, when I look at it, obviously watch Perth a little bit closer than other teams as well. But when I look at Christian Doolittle, I think it's exciting from a team perspective, not necessarily a game day squad perspective, because he's getting to sort of play that, 30 to 35 minutes, but not having to have the pressure of to score 20 to 25 points per game. So I think, though, he's going to have one of those big explosion games soon. I don't know if you caught that game live, Jez, but that second quarter, with 2 minutes to go, he just took over. Those 2 massive 3-point shots, the couple of steals, and the way he was facilitating the offense, he's in for an incredible season. Now, one player that I want to flag as well here, though, he's the 6th highest scorer, Jaron Riley. That's in 13 minutes, Jez. 27 game day points with 2 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist, 2 steals, 2 personal fouls, and 1 block in that particular game. He is a revelation for the Perth Wildcats right now. Nepotism calls, all that bullshit was getting called on him at the start of the season. He has been a genuine gun. Now, looking down the page a little bit more, Ja'Cory McLaughlin will be sacked from the Illawarra Hawks relatively soon. All reports are when Will Hickey comes back, Ja'Cory McLaughlin will be let go. That is the reports, the rumors going around at the moment. Again, there is so much to play out as well. Mason Jones, 15 points, game day squad points, 12 points in that particular game. He got going late in the piece, but obviously the things that are killing his scores at the moment, the 3 personal fouls and the 4 turnovers. And then pretty much after that, there's no one really of note. I thought Elijah Pepper played a pretty good game off the bench, 25 points in game day squad perspective, and Bwali Bales with his 24 points in game day squad. Now, this is also an interesting game. So we had the New Zealand Breakers taking on the Sydney Kings. Now, Sam Menenga led the scoring. 14 points, 12 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 2 turnovers, 3 personal fouls, and the 1 block. It was relatively good for them as well. But when you look down across the board, you can just see the class of the Sydney Kings. And I'm going to skip over Kendrick Davis because I'll leave him for you in a second, mate. But Kendrick Davis, 0 points. Sorry, Matthew Dellavedova, 0 points in this particular outing. 1 of 6 from the field as well. Let me just add that. Still ends the game with 36 game day squad points with his 5 rebounds, with his 6 rebounds, 7 assists, 1 steal, 2 turnovers, 2 personal fouls. That's a pretty impressive scoreline for scoring 0 points.
Yeah, absolutely crazy. But it just shows. It shows that assists are king, steals are king. Yeah, when it comes to game day squad, that's what you want. Like if you think he's not sort of average game, you put 15 more scoring points on there, and it's a top level
Mid-50s,
player score. Like that's what you sort of want from your players. But he just missed a few shots early, but maybe that helped with the assist count. But he's always sitting around sort of 7 assists. If you're a punter, you'd know that's the mark for Delhi is around that 7 to 9 assist mark. So yeah, but I think you can expect, like, I don't know, I'm still not, so I was all in on the Sydney Kings at the start of the year, but oh man, the more you watch them, the scarier it is, isn't it? Like,
yeah, some were, some weren't, mate, and I was one of the weren'ts, but yeah, I don't know, I think obviously I'll touch on him quickly now. Kendrick Davis, 53 game day squad points, 28 actual points, 2 3-point shots made, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 1 steal, 1 personal foul. He's just not having the same impact as last season. And we've just recorded a Fox Sport podcast, and Jai, NBL Pleb, and I were talking about this as well on there. And we were talking about his play style has had to change. They've completely mixed up his game style this season. He has gone from a scoring facilitator, last season with the other 36ers, to a dead set scorer. And that's the game plan, because Matthew Dellavedova is there. He's there to be the facilitator. And Kendrick Davis is your 25 to 30 point per game scorer. So right now, personally for me, he's averaging 22 field goal attempts per game. That's a bit of a scary thing for game day squad, because he's not a great defender, as we know. So you're going to be getting no steals, no blocks. He's going to average turnovers and personal fouls. That's just his game style. And if he's not getting the assist production, he's basically just a scoring player on game day squad, which is actually quite scary, I think, personally. So I'll probably still look to play him for the next couple of rounds. He's still a superstar until I see otherwise consistently. The dude's still averaging 24 points per game, so you can't really fade him too much. And Parker Jackson Cartwright, once again, doing it all for the New Zealand Breakers. 16 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 1 steal, 5 turnovers, 1 personal foul, still finishes on 37. And the last game of the round, as we mentioned, was between the Brisbane Bullets and the Tasmania Jack Jumpers. And it was obviously the Josh Banana Bannon man. Obviously, if you followed the basketball fix for some time, you know how hot we've all been on him over the last couple of years. 23 points, 15 rebounds, 2 assists, 4 turnovers, brought the score down a little bit with the 2 personal fouls and the 1 block. Jez, mate, what did you make of your Banana Man?
Yeah, like I think we said at the lead up to what Banana Man could do for Tasmania and where you wanted him to be sitting, and it was certainly around that. I think we said, you want him to be scoring 20 points a game and floating around that double-double mark with his rebounds, and that's what he did, and he did it against Tyrell Harrison, who started the year extremely well, but obviously, chip on his shoulder going back to Brisbane. You want to have a big game. I think now you just want to see a bit of consistency from him, especially if you want to play him in your squad a lot or regularly. You don't want to sort of be having to look at the matchups and hope for the best. You want these guys that you can sort of just stick in and pretty much leave them forever, but you're not quite there with Bannon left. You want to see that happen week in and week out for a few weeks before you do that, I think, because it's tough to expect that sort of performance at the moment from him. But also in this game, I think obviously, Jalen Adams, those 7 turnovers, man, like that's
what I was about to flag then. Yeah,
like,
that's horrible.
Like, think the score: 52 points with 7 turnovers and 2 personal fouls. So it's a real shame, but it's good to see him still scoring and facilitating. Like, we should see him grow more and more up in Brisbane, and as they sort of get healthy and find their role and can have the same team on the court, for a few weeks, we'll see exactly what Adams is all about this season.
Yeah, I think Adams is starting to find his feet now. I think obviously the game plan and the structure from what Stu Lash sort of said in that post-game press conference is basically they're trying to make Adams that aggressive sort of, leadership point guard. And that's obviously aggressive on the points, obviously aggressive in playmaking, but also aggressive in the defensive end as well. And he had 4 steals in that game as well. So, it was a pretty weird game. Like, I think most people would have said that the Tasmania Jack Jumpers are going to win this game and win it quite easy, especially when Javon Freeman-Liberty went down. Casey Prather didn't play with a head injury, with a concussion. That could rule him out of this week as well, which is disappointing. But I want to touch on some of these role players. So the further you go up, you want these diamonds, you want these platinum players. Now, sometimes you get not shafted, we won't say shafted, but sometimes you don't get the creme of the creme. So you may get guys like Tane Murray. You may get guys like Toby Smith-Milner, Alex Dukas. Those guys were all incredible for the Brisbane Bullets, and they deserve a bit of a pat on the back. Tane Murray in particular, 33 game day squad points, 17 points in that particular game with 3 3-point shots made. 2 rebounds, 2 assists in that particular game. So really solid game for him. There was some positive signs. There's a lot to improve with him going forward. And obviously, Toby Smith-Milner was massive. 7 points, 10 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 1 personal foul. And obviously, Alex Dukas, 30 game day squad points, 12 points, 4 3-point shots made, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal, and 2 personal fouls with a block as well. So a relatively impressive game. I also want to shout out TJ Starks. 18 points in that particular game for the 21 game day squad points as well. He looks like he's going to be a genuine bucket for the Tasmania Jack Jumpers for the next 4 to 6 weeks until he jets off to China in the CBA. Now, Jez, I'm going to quickly, we had some packs that I must have, again, won from last week potentially. So we'll open them up to start. We'll get them out of the way first, and then we're going to jump into our teams as well. We'll get the common ones out of the way. And again, if you get some packs, make sure you open them up. It's good fun throughout the season as well. So again, we're chasing, that was a platinum for a second. Then we're chasing, obviously, platinums and diamonds and golds. I actually kind of want some good golds in my collection. I've noticed over the last few weeks I have no golds, but I think that's platinum off the top of my head. Okay. Alex McNaught, we'll put that one straight in the bin. Not a fan of that one. This is what I mean, though. You get these somewhat, average cards and you got nothing else to do with them. So,
yeah, pretty much whenever I open cards.
My boy, all right? 2 more months to be back, all right? So we'll be gone. But 100%, it's exactly what you meant. And here we go, last one. We want a diamond. Let's give us a diamond. I think that's all platinum,
isn't it?
As well. I think that's all platinum. All right, let's look for something good here, all right? Let's just, Dan Greeter, not good enough. Not good enough. All right, so we've been absolutely
I'm so glad you had a shit run, man. Every time I'm on here online and we've opened packs live, you've popped something massive. And
it just makes me want to scream when I pull shit. I'm just like, I had Jack McVeigh last week. Give me something good, all right?
Makes me feel real good.
All right, let's jump into our teams for this round in particular. Now, obviously, an interesting round. We've got a couple of players who obviously dominated last week, and we spoke about them earlier as well. This is my team heading in to round number 4. I've got Jack McVeigh and JaVale McGee as my power forward and center combination. Jalen Galloway, I'm expecting a bounce back. Don't be alarmed. Dylan Windler is behind him. So, again, it doesn't matter where these guys sit if they're starting or on the bench. But I've gone with Galloway in this particular game to bounce back. They've got 2 games this week. So that's going to be a bit of an interesting one, potentially a little bit of a point of difference. I think he's going to have an increased role this week as well, especially against the Adelaide 36ers. That's where I'm looking to have him to have that really big impact. I've gone Kendrick Davis at the point guard, Bryce Cotton at the shooting guard. Not much will change. Dylan Windler as the backup small forward, Christian Doolittle as the backup power forward. I've got Parker Jackson Cartwright off the bench, Joe Lawala-Chul and Tyler Harvey to round out my Starters League competition. And I'm just going to jump over to my champions quickly just to let everyone see that as well for people who do play. This is what my team is looking like coming into round number 4. Matthew Dellavedova as the point guard. Bryce Cotton, 111 points with that platinum sort of multiplier there as well. He's averaging a cool, quiet 100.1 points per game. Just dominating. So it's nice having him in my squad. Dylan Windler, I've got him at the small forward. Jack McVeigh, power forward. Isaac Humphries has been solid as my backup center. As my starting center. I've got Alex Higgins-Titcher coming off the bench as my small forward. Josh Banana Man Bannon, Parker Jackson Cartwright. I'm expecting a bounce back game from Tyrell Harrison and looking forward to seeing what Milton Doyle can produce for me off the bench. So a couple of guys who I'm fading this week. Sam Menenga, they've got a couple of tough matchups. He's obviously got the Illawarra Hawks in that first game and then Southeast Melbourne Phoenix, who with obviously Geordie Hunter. I'm also obviously fading Rob Baker, Toby Smith-Milner, guys who have scored pretty well. But before we jump into your squad, Jez, I just want to release a little bit of injury news. So we spoke about it. So Casey Prather is missing out. Javon Freeman-Liberty is likely to play. So that's obviously exciting. Now, For Melbourne United, though, we've got Shayley missing the next at least 4 weeks, they reckon, with a hamstring injury. Tyson Walker will play with a hand injury. Chris Goulding is also back now against the Cairns Taipans, though. So he misses the first game against the Sydney Kings, and he'll play against the Cairns Taipans. So that's a massive in as well. But again, you're only getting one bite at it. He's not really going to be a game squad relevant player, as we see, obviously more of a scorer. But if he gets on a big run of 3-pointers, it obviously could bounce him up a little bit. So they're the big ones. Will Hickey, probably at least 2 more weeks away, like I said, and we'll spell the end for Ja'Cory McLaughlin as well. But Jez, I'm going to remove my team and let's jump into your team. We've got a bit of a format problem here. We'll have to get you to, we'll just quickly fix you up in a sec. I don't know what's going on there, but what's going on? There we go. That's the one.
That was my bad.
I was like, what's going on here? But take it away, mate. Who have you got coming into this game? And I'm liking the power forward.
Yeah. So obviously John Brown, I think we've gone a little bit quiet or a little bit off Southeast Melbourne because they didn't play, but he massive start to the season. I think definitely a point of difference maybe for having him in there. And then obviously you got to have McGee red hot on Dylan Windler now just with his consistency. Parker Jackson Cartwright, like really, really tough with New Zealand, isn't it? But he gets 2 games. 2 cracks at it with playing Illawarra and then Southeast Melbourne. So you would think he should pop for one of those. And then obviously Bryce Cotton. I didn't have Bryce Cotton until this week, until I opened up my packs. So thank God that's over with, because now it's just keep him in there and you're good to go. Don't ever have to think about your shooting guard for the rest of the season.
Yep.
And then, I've got Xylem Cheatham. I've taken in a couple of Melbourne players, I thought I had Milton Doyle in here too, because you're sort of looking at Melbourne and I was trying to sort of work out, all right, what are the good matchups? And I thought with Fabs, we saw what the centers did to Cairns last week. Trying to remember exactly what fucking game that was. It was the versus Adelaide. So we saw Humphreys have a good, his best game. I think you can expect some points from Fabs, and he's still averaging, I think he's top 5 anyway, as a power forward. So still averaging 43 points. I know it's a strange call, but he's been playing extremely well. Kendrick Davis, you're also a little bit wary about, exactly because of what you said. You're relying purely on scoring for him, so he needs to pop on the score sheet. And then Joe Luala-Chul and then Bryce Hamilton had a bit of a quiet game, but it was a big man's game against Brisbane. But we should see him see a little bit more action when Tasmania take on Adelaide on Thursday night.
What's John Brown's average? If you can scroll up there just a little bit, because I think he's in for
59.5.
All right, that's going to be well and truly in play this round. I just want to give you a little bit of a statistic here. So the New Zealand Breakers, who they're playing in that game, late in the round, I think it's the second last game of the round.
Yeah.
They are allowing 10.5 steals per game.
Yeah.
Right? They haven't played a John Brown type player just yet. John Brown is going to destroy the New Zealand Breakers. And I think they're also allowing something like 16, 17 turnovers in their games as well. So John Brown is an absolute menace.
I think the worst defensive rating in the league as well, right? So
yeah. So I just think that's such a good call.
Yeah,
I think that's just such a good call. I think if you've got him, which I don't have, unfortunately, absolute lock and load for this round in particular. He's going to be a defensive menace and absolutely kill people as well. What do you reckon? Do you think, I'm going to give you this hypothetical before we wrap up as well. And if you've got any questions in the chat, let us know now quickly before we do wrap up. We've probably got another 2 or 3 minutes before we do jump off. But is JaVale McGee and Bryce Cotton ever going to come out of your squad in the starter league?
No.
Not
at the moment. I don't know. Obviously, with these averages, they're averaging 78.5 and 77.5 for Bryce. You can't take them out. McGee, we talked about it off air, just how the amount of the rebound action that he can get. I think you're expecting that sort of 10, 15 rebounds per game, because he's just a meter bigger than anybody else, and his reach is just huge, and he's going to score points. So, I don't see him scoring any less. Bryce Cotton, it's the same. Adelaide, Bryce is going to be scoring points. He's going to be playing a very, very similar role to or he is playing a similar role to what he did in Perth for the Wildcats. He's the number one scorer. He's going to be cranking stuff up. And then he has been a menace with steals as well. So, yeah, why would you take him out?
No, I think you're bang on, mate. And I think he's going to be a lock. I think, like I mentioned, JaVale McGee's going to be a lock. And I nearly think the next biggest lock for me personally is going to be Dylan Windler. I think he's the next big lock. I think he's just brewing now to start the season. He's starting to find his feet. He's going to be dominant. And if Kendrick Davis can figure it out and become that facilitating scorer like we've seen over the last couple of months, I think he's a genuine, last season I should say, he's a genuine chance to make some noise this NBL season as well from a game day squad perspective. So
and I think now you've got to start sort of looking though at matchups. I think the first few weeks you don't really know what's going on, but now I think it's important that you start sort of feeding that in once you're making your team and sort of having, okay, who has 2 games, because you get 2 cracks at it. And then also looking at these teams and matchups, who are good against guards, which guards went off the week before against certain opposition, and same with the big boys as well. So I think that's what you got to start looking at a little bit more and find those key matchups.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that's a really, really good point going forward. And again, we're starting, like you mentioned there, to see teams who are playing well, teams who are playing bad, and sort of figuring out the key matchups and everything as well. So that's going to be exciting. And I guess that's where we can start to offer that value going forward. Obviously, it's nice picking a squad that's relatively similar every week, but especially with these 8-game weeks and these massive weeks that are going to be coming up for the NBL with Ignite Cup games on a Wednesday night. And again, if you're watching right now still, games are tomorrow night. So make sure your teams are locked and loaded. I think it's relatively early. I think it's 2:30 Western Standard Time. So 5:30 p.m.
Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time is the Breakers Illawarra.
So very, very early. So make sure you get your selections and your squads locked away right now. Hopefully we've given you guys something to think about in this particular video. But until next time though, Jez, that has been another good episode of Game Day Squad. Looking forward to it. Any final thoughts? Obviously heading into an 8-game Ignite Cup debut round in the NBL.
Are we getting points for every quarter in game day as well, or how's it working? Like, that's
nothing past the normal.
This Ignite Cup, actually.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be interesting, especially over the length it is as well. But it's also exciting because we're going to see the final game, obviously, in the Gold Coast. So I think the Gold Coast is brewing up now. Just keep this in the back of your mind, but I think there'll be an announcement after the final is played on the Gold Coast that the Gold Coast team will be announced. So
it's cool, man. I was like, I'm from the Gold Coast and I know the plan that they had to make a new arena, like pretty much right in the hub, just outside of Surfers Paradise over the Sundale Bridge. If that got cleared, it's an amazing spot, because the biggest problem with the Gold Coast is that the stadiums have always been sort of out of the way. You can't get to them, but this puts it like in the hub, in the center. You can go and party afterwards. You can have drinks afterwards. It's like impossible to do at Carrara Stadium, where the AFL was, where the Rollers used to play, and Robina, is Robina where the Titans play, which is also tough. So I think it's smart that putting people on public transport, putting it in the center, in the hub, should be exciting. I think it's a good move and huge if they can nail an NBL team straight off the bat.
I think we just found the ambassador for the Gold Coast team. I think Goldie, if you want an ambassador, mate, just
I'll be buying gear. I'll be off the island. I won't be defending the island anymore. I'll tell you that much.
It'll be get on the piss in the Gold Coast. That'll be what it goes to from there as well, mate. But that'll wrap up today's episode. Been another incredible episode, Jez. As always, thank you very much for jumping on, mate. And looking forward to an incredible round 4 of NBL action. Obviously, like we mentioned, Ignite Cup, Wednesday night games all the way through till Sunday as well. 8 games on the calendar this week. Matchups galore. Watermouthing games is going to be... Some team is going to finally win.
Dyslexic. It's so exciting. You've gone dyslexic, Josh.
It's been 2 hours of podcasting, mate. All right? My brain is fried. But mouth-watering. There we go. Mouth-watering matchup. Some team is going to find their first win. So we've got the New Zealand Breakers and the Illawarra Hawks. They'll finally find their first win in the NBL 26 season. Yeah. But until next time, though, this has been Josh and Mr. Jeremy Dark, and this has been your Basketball Fit.